Right now, over the skies of Tehran, something happened that military analysts have been theorizing about for years, and it just became history. An Israeli F-35I Adir shot down an Iranian aircraft in active airspace over the Iranian capital. Not a drone, not a missile, a manned aircraft. And it marks the first time in the history of modern warfare that an F-35 has ever killed a crewed fighter in air-to-air combat anywhere on Earth. This is not a simulation. This is not a war game scenario from a Rand Corporation report. This happened on March 4th, 2026, and it tells you everything you need to know about where this conflict is heading and why Iran's Air Force, despite years of propaganda, may be completely outmatched in the skies above its own country. But here is what makes this story complicated. Iran does have one aircraft in its inventory that poses a real, documented threat to Western air power. And before this is over, that jet is going to matter. So let's break down exactly what happened, what Iran is actually flying, and why the gap between these two air forces is so wide it almost defies comparison. On the morning of March 4th, 2026, the Israeli Air Force confirmed via its official channels that an F-35I Adir, Israel's specially modified variant of the American-built F-35, had engaged and destroyed an Iranian YAK-130 aircraft operating over Tehran. The Israeli Defense Forces announced the kill through an official telegram statement, which was then independently corroborated by Defense News, Newsweek, Yahoo News, Ynet News, CBN News, The Aviationist, and Business Insider, among others. The YAK-130 is a Russian-designed aircraft whose primary role is training fighter pilots. It is a dual-purpose platform, built to simulate the handling of advanced jets, so that student aviators can develop combat skills before transitioning to frontline fighters. It can carry weapons, and in the current conflict, Iran appears to have pressed it into light combat duty. But make no mistake, this is not a frontline warplane. It is not designed to go toe-to-toe with a fifth-generation stealth fighter. It has no stealth capability, no advanced radar, no beyond visual range engagement profile worth measuring against the F-35. And yet, the historic significance of this kill cannot be overstated. Before March 4th, 2026, the F-35 had recorded air-to-air kills, but every single one of them was against uncrewed aerial vehicles, drones. The question of how the F-35 would perform against a piloted aircraft in actual combat had never been answered by anything other than theory, simulation, and adversarial red team exercises. That question now has an answer, and that answer came over the capital city of Iran. The Israeli Air Force's last confirmed manned air-to-air kill before this engagement was on November 24, 1985, when an Israeli F-15 Baz downed two Syrian MiG-23 aircraft. That was more than 40 years ago. The fact that it took this long, not because Israel lacked the capability, but because full-scale aerial combat at this level had not occurred, makes this moment all the more significant. But what happened next made the situation far more dangerous, because Iran is not flying only trainer aircraft, and the question of what Iran's best jet can actually do against an F-35 is a very different conversation. To understand why Iran chose this moment to escalate, and what assets it actually has, you need to understand the state of the Islamic Republic of Iran Air Force, known as the IRIAF, and the parallel air arm of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC. Iran's Air Force is, by most independent assessments, a museum with jet engines. The International Institute for Strategic Studies Military Balance for 2026 estimates Iran operates approximately 300 combat aircraft in total. The overwhelming majority of that fleet is composed of pre-1990 designs, aging American jets acquired before the Islamic Revolution in 1979, supplemented by aging Soviet-era aircraft acquired over the following decades. Decades of international sanctions have starved Iran's ability to source spare parts, avionics upgrades, and modern weapons systems. The result is an air force where a significant portion of the fleet is, at any given moment, not airworthy. There are, however, genuine exceptions. Iran still operates a number of F-14 Tomcats, the iconic swing-wing fighters made famous by the original Top Gun film, originally sold to Iran by the United States in the 1970s. Iran has attempted to upgrade these aircraft with domestically developed missiles, including a weapon designated the Fakhur 90, which analysts believe is derived from the original American AIM-54 Phoenix. How effective these upgrades are in practice remains genuinely uncertain. Iran has also produced its own domestically designed fighter, the Kausar. Iranian state media presented the Kausar as a modern, capable warplane. Independent analysts were far less impressed. The National Interest, among other defense publications, has described Iranian stealth fighter claims, particularly around a separate aircraft called the Kaher F-35I, as, quote, a ham-handed hoax. The Kausar carries no meaningful stealth characteristics. Its maximum speed is roughly Mach 1.6. and its combat range of approximately 1,100 kilometers puts it well below the performance envelope of any modern Western or Russian frontline fighter. It is not competitive with the F-35. By almost any measurable standard, it is not competitive with the F-35's predecessor aircraft either. But then there is the Su-35. Iran confirmed the acquisition of Su-35 SE fighters in January of 2025, with the first aircraft having been delivered in late 2024. The number of operational aircraft remains disputed. Estimates range from a small initial delivery to a reported order of up to 50 total airframes. The Su-35 SE is a 4.5 generation aircraft, a category that sits below true fifth-generation stealth fighters like the F-35, but well above the aging legacy platforms that make up most of Iran's fleet. It is fast, it is maneuverable, and it carries weapons that deserve serious attention. The Su-35's primary radar, the Irbis-E passive electronically scanned array, carries a manufacturer-claimed detection range of 400 kilometers against conventional aircraft. Its R-37M air-to-air missile is rated at a maximum range of up to 400 kilometers and travels at hypersonic speed. The aircraft itself is capable of Mach 2.25 and can sustain operations over 3,600 kilometers on internal fuel alone. It is equipped with three-dimensional thrust vectoring engines, meaning the pilot can point the jet's nose in directions that conventional aircraft simply cannot achieve, making it exceptionally dangerous in a close-range dogfight. On paper, the Su-35 is Iran's only aircraft capable of posing a credible threat to Western air power, and the response, or lack of it, tells you everything. In the days following the March 4th engagement, the international community's reaction has been as revealing as the combat footage itself. The United States, which currently has more than 50,000 troops deployed in the Central Command region, and at least 2 carrier strike groups operating in the area, has not made any public declaration that it views the aerial engagement as a direct escalation, requiring immediate military response. The Pentagon has not issued a formal statement specifically addressing the air-to-air kill at the time of this report, though American officials have maintained the broader framework of military operations in the region. The United Nations Security Council, the 15-member body with primary responsibility under the UN Charter for International Peace and Security, has been unable to take binding action. Russia, a permanent member with veto authority, has a direct stake in Iran's military capability, having supplied the very Su-35 SE jets now in Iranian service. Any Security Council resolution aimed at restraining Iran's military operations would face a Russian veto. This is not speculation. It is the structural reality of how the Council functions. And it means the diplomatic pathway to de-escalation through the UN is, for practical purposes, closed. The European Union and NATO member states have issued statements of concern. The United Kingdom, France, and Germany, the 3 European powers most closely tied to the original 2015 Iran nuclear deal negotiations, have called for restraint without specifying what consequences would follow if that call goes unheeded. Israel, for its part, has released the confirmation of the air-to-air kill through official channels without elaborating on operational details, which is consistent with Israeli information security practices. The Israeli Air Force does not typically discuss mission specifics in real time. What they have confirmed is that the engagement occurred, that it was successful, and that it represents a historic first in F-35 combat history. But for the people on the ground, none of that matters yet. Tehran is a city of more than 9 million people. In the days surrounding and following the March 4th engagement, those 9 million people are living inside an active conflict zone. Airstrikes on the Iranian capital and its surrounding infrastructure have been reported across multiple sources. the presence of Israeli F-35s over Tehran, operating deep inside Iranian airspace over a city with one of the more developed air defense networks in the region, signals a level of aerial access that Iranian state media and military officials have not publicly acknowledged as possible. For ordinary Iranians, the calculus of daily life has shifted in ways that are difficult to quantify, but impossible to ignore. When aircraft are operating over your capital city, when the government that has promised to protect you is pressing trainer jets into combat duty, the gap between official narrative and lived reality becomes impossible to paper over. People in Tehran are not reading military balance assessments. They are listening for sounds. They are checking communications. They are making decisions about whether to stay or move, whether to go to work, whether their families in other cities are safer than they are. The infrastructure implications extend beyond the immediate danger of airstrikes. Modern air campaigns, particularly those prosecuted by fifth-generation aircraft with precision-guided munitions, are designed to degrade an adversary's ability to function as a coherent military force. Power grids, communications networks, fuel depots, radar installations. These are the systems that keep a modern society operational. When they come under sustained pressure, the effects ripple outward to hospitals, water treatment facilities, transportation networks. The human cost is measured not only in the immediate effects of ordnance, but in the cascading failures that follow. And this is not staying inside those borders. The geopolitical and economic fallout of an active air war over Tehran extends far beyond Iran's territory, and the United States is directly in the middle of it. Start with oil. Iran produces approximately 3 to 4 million barrels of crude oil per day under normal conditions, making it one of the major producers within the OPEC+ framework. The Persian Gulf, through which Iran's coast runs for hundreds of miles, handles approximately 20% of the world's seaborne oil trade. The Strait of Hormuz, the narrow choke point at the Gulf's mouth, is the single most strategically critical energy shipping lane on the planet. Roughly 20 million barrels of oil pass through it every day. Iran has threatened on multiple occasions to close the strait in the event of a major military confrontation, and while doing so would damage Iran's own economy, the strategic logic of denial becomes more viable the more Iran believes it has nothing left to lose. Energy markets have already registered the turbulence. Global crude prices are sensitive to any signal of instability in the Gulf region. Analysts tracking Brent crude and West Texas Intermediate have noted price movements consistent with a significant conflict risk premium, meaning the cost of oil is elevated not because supply has yet been disrupted, but because markets are pricing in the possibility that it will be. That premium translates directly to gasoline prices at pumps across the United States, home heating costs, airline ticket prices, and the cost of transporting virtually every physical product that moves through the American economy. For American military families, the stakes are immediate and personal. With more than 50,000 United States service members currently deployed in the Central Command Area of Responsibility, the military's geographic zone covering the Middle East and Central Asia, the expansion of aerial combat over Iran is not an abstraction. American forces at bases in Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, and the broader Gulf region are within range of Iranian ballistic and cruise missiles. The United States has deployed Patriot air defense batteries and terminal high-altitude area defense systems, known as THAAD, to positions across the region precisely because of this threat. But no air defense system offers complete protection, and the more that Iranian military planners believe they have nothing left to lose, the more willing they may become to test those systems. The approximately 900 F-35s currently in service across the United States Air Force and Navy represent not just a weapons platform, but an investment of roughly $400 billion in American defense spending allocated toward the program's procurement, according to Department of Defense reporting. The combat confirmation of that platform's air-to-air capability over Tehran is simultaneously a validation of that investment and a stark signal to every adversary that has been told for years that the F-35's real-world performance remained unproven in peer or near-peer combat conditions. That argument is now off the table, and no one, on any side of this, has a clear answer for what comes next. What military analysts and intelligence professionals are watching most closely in the coming 48 to 72 hours is the disposition of Iran's Su-35 SE fleet. These aircraft have been in Iranian possession since late 2024. The integration of a new complex 4.5 generation aircraft into an existing air force is not a quick process. Pilots need to accumulate hours, maintenance crews need to be certified. The aircraft needs to be networked into national air defense infrastructure, a process that analysts estimated would take 6 to 12 months after delivery. Whether that integration is complete, partially complete, or still ongoing is one of the most consequential unknowns in this conflict right now. If Iran's Su-35 SES are combat ready, the character of this air war changes. Not because the Su-35 defeats the F-35 in a straightforward engagement. The weight of technical analysis, from the Center for Strategic and International Studies to the RAND Corporation, consistently concludes that the F-35's stealth profile and sensor fusion give it first look, first shot advantage in beyond visual range combat. But because the R-37M missiles' long range and hypersonic speed create engagement geometries that require the F-35 to operate with greater caution, and because a close-range engagement, if one were ever forced by circumstances, favors the Su-35's maneuverability in ways that are genuinely untested and genuinely dangerous, the gap between Iran's best fighter jet and the F-35 is real, documented, and in some dimensions, enormous. But wars are not fought on spreadsheets. They are fought by pilots with varying levels of training, in aircraft with varying levels of readiness, in airspace where the unexpected is not the exception. It is the rule. Iran's pilots average approximately 100 flight hours per year, according to analyst estimates reviewed for this report. Israeli and American pilots average more than double that. That training gap matters enormously in the kind of high-stress, sensor-saturated, beyond visual range combat that defines modern air warfare. What happened over Tehran on March 4th was a data point, a significant one, a historic one. But the conflict that produced it is still in motion. The Su-35 SE question is still open, and the decisions being made right now, in Tel Aviv, in Washington, and in Tehran, will determine whether this is remembered as a single engagement in a contained operation, or the opening chapter of something far larger. The skies over Iran are not quiet, and the world is watching.